10 on Your Side is dedicated to telling the stories of our local veterans. The first of our two stories tonight involves a man who was drafted and served in 2 wars. At the age of 95, he is talking about the hurdles he had to overcome to serve his nation and afterwards. Our Lauryn has that story for us tonight.
Well, Paul Wilson is now 95 years old, but as a young man, he served in World War II and the Korean War. He was drafted both times. Despite segregation in the military and being injured on the battlefield, Wilson has constantly persevered.
The war was over, and I thought maybe I would not be drafted.
In 1945, Paul Wilson had just turned 18 years old and was still in high school.
But when they drafted me, I had to go.
Wilson was assigned to the Navy. Wilson got out in 1946. He went straight back to school until he got drafted yet again.
They said you'd be a good soldier, so they put me in the army.
Wilson was sent overseas to fight in the Korean War. He fought on the front lines where he had to worry about the enemy and being the only black person in his company. Wilson helped put landmines down.
They would call me to get it out and carry it and put it in a bucket. That was my job. And they said I was indispensable. They could get another,
One day, Wilson says he was miles away from the front line in a blocking position when he was hit by a bullet. Wilson was shot in the arm and had an injury to his head. He finished recovery in Fort Belford. Wilson was done fighting on the battlefield, but he entered a different fight stateside.
But I was disabled, and my arm was, I applied for disability, and they rejected me.
Wilson kept pushing and later received 30% disability. At one time, it only amounted to around $135 a month. He asked 10 to 15 more times to have his disability increased. The answer was always no. 68 years later, a doctor finally listened.
They increased my disability from 30% to 65%. And that's the first time. I think I was 93 years old then.
Time after time, Wilson has persevered, whether on the battlefield or fighting for an increased disability rating. He says he has done so much since getting out of the Army. He turns 96 next month and says he feels good, and he is trying to get back into one of his favorite hobbies, golf. Stay with us. WAVY News 10 at 6 starts now.